the world moves towards a greener future to reduce the usage of fossil fuels, some countries around the globe are going back to the highly polluting energy sources. One such country is Germany. Now, there are long brewing tensions between climate activists and police in Germany over expansion of a coal mine. The situation has now become intense. Cops are arresting protesting activists who claim to be willing to risk their lives to prevent more coal from being mined. Our next report gets you the story.
Police began clearing climate protesters out of an abandoned village in Germany on Wednesday in a showdown over the expansion of an open-cast coal mine. Demonstrators have been protesting against the Gasweiler mine run by energy firm RWE in the village of Lützerath. It has highlighted tensions around Germany's climate policy during an energy crisis. RWE, in a statement on Wednesday morning, said it would start to demolish the former settlement of the village. The latest round of protests follows a regional court decision on Monday that upheld an earlier ruling to vacate the village. The land and houses now belong to RWE and all residents are gone. Activists have taken over the village and made makeshift barricades. They formed human chains as police in riot gear moved in. Police said protesters had begun throwing Molotov cocktails, beer bottles and stones. The standoff could take weeks to resolve, according to authorities.
It's a big challenge for the police and we need a lot of special forces here to deal with the situation. We have aerial rescue specialists, we have machinery to deal with the barricades. There are all factors that make it difficult to tell how long this will last. We expect it to continue for at least several weeks.
Some protesters, like Sasha, which is not her real name, have been living in tree houses. Others have suspended themselves from wires and wooden frames.
I've been here for a week now, and before that I was here on and off for weeks at a time, because I think that we have to work to make sure that Lützerath stays. It's the red line of 1.5 degree.
The protests highlight growing tensions over Berlin's climate policy.
It's an agreement in support of climate protection, which makes for legal security and which creates the legal binding always demanded by the climate protest movement. From 2030, no more coal will be used to produce electricity in the Rhineland's coal mines. My political work is aimed at achieving similar deals elsewhere in Germany.
Environmentalists say it took a backseat during the energy crisis that hit Europe last year, after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, forcing a return to dirtier fuels. Those include firing up mothballed coal power plants and extending the lifespan of nuclear power stations after Russia cut gas deliveries to Europe in an energy standoff that sent prices soaring. The government has, however, brought forward the date when all brown coal or lignite power plants will be shut down in North Rhine-Westphalia, where the Gasweiler mine is located, to 2030 from 2038.
Now, for more on this, we're being joined by James Jackson from Berlin. James is a journalist by profession. Welcome to the broadcast. Now, how long do you think that the climate activists can hold on to the protest, and what message are they trying to give?
How long they'll hold on depends entirely on the police and what kind of actions the police are willing to take there. I think the most important part is the message. Now, the message they've made is very clear. They've said that if Germany wants to keep to 1.5 degrees of global warming, so keep the emissions below that, they're saying we need to save this village of Lützerath, and we need to keep the coal in the ground. Now, as you've just heard on the report, it's not even just normal coal. The idea of a coal mine being destroyed, a village being destroyed for a coal mine, sounds quite 19th century. But of course, this is the 21st century. It's 2023, and Germany is still burning coal, not just normal coal. As I just said, this is lignite or brown coal. It's the dirtiest form of coal that exists. Now, this comes from a political compromise, and one thing which might surprise observers, as we just saw, was that it came from a Green minister, Robert Habeck, and the Green Bundestag parliamentary fraction voted for this, even though some of them are now on the front lines protesting against it. So we are seeing a division in the climate movement, in the Green Party, in politics, and of course the activists on the street who have occupied these houses in Lützerath, in a small village in West Germany. Lützi bleibt is the name of their campaign, which means let's stay. Lützi will stay. Lützerath will remain. So the message they're making is that this isn't just for the planet; it's also for Germany's legal. For its laws, because Germany has passed unanimously the Paris Climate Agreement, which aims to go for 1.5 degrees of global warming to minimise the amount of coal and fossil fuels that are burnt. Right. So they're arguing that to stick with the spirit of the law, we need to keep the coal in the ground.
Right, James, you have touched on the politics there. Do you think that the protest highlights the growing tensions over Germany's climate policies?
Absolutely, because so this was a sort of compromise position. Actually, previously, the RWE energy company and the authorities in the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, in the west of Germany, Germany's most populous state, wanted to take more coal out of the ground. They wanted to keep burning coal for longer. But in Germany, there has been, also thanks to the Green Party, a move away from, decided by Chancellor Angela Merkel, they decided to move away from nuclear energy. And of course, nuclear energy, it's hard to get rid of the waste, but it is actually much better for the climate in general, because there are much fewer emissions. Whereas with lignite coal, with all forms of coal and fossil fuels, there are huge amounts of emissions. So Germany decided to move away from nuclear, but that meant that they had to move back towards coal and gas. And Russian gas is, of course, no longer an option for Germany. So that means they are doubling down on coal. Some of it is for export to Poland, where they still burn a lot of coal. Germany has said they will be leaving coal by 2028. But a lot of this is the bed that they've made by leaving nuclear early. Now, the politics, of course, comes from a compromise where the Greens at the time in 2020 thought this is a good deal. We're actually going to have to burn less coal if we make this deal, because it was part of a deal a compromise to get out of coal earlier, which the three parties of government made. However, we've seen since then catastrophic flooding in Germany. We've seen where hundreds of people died actually in a region quite close to where Lützerath is right now, which most scientists agree was caused by climate change. We've seen a record-breaking warm winter this winter, the warmest New Year's Eve on record. And so a lot of people in Germany, including the activists, have been saying, well, actually, maybe we need to revisit what we've already signed and keep this coal in the ground, because then we'll have more wiggle room, so to speak, more possibility of staying below 1.5 degrees, which, of course, many climate and energy experts say is quite unlikely with the amount of coal and fossil fuels that are being burnt now.
Right. Not just Germany, but even the UK is reopening coal mines due to the change in geopolitics. Do you think that's the best option for Europe?
I don't think Europe has any good options at the moment because, of course, we are in an era-defining war. There's so many changes in geopolitics, and unfortunately, the energy infrastructure that Europe built over the last few decades was heavily reliant on Russian gas. Gas was supposed to be a bridge fuel, which would take us away from really dirty fossil fuels like coal towards cleaner renewables. I think the best option we can do really is to invest in renewables, because they are getting cheaper and cheaper. And of course, the more money you put into them, the better the technology is. Of course, there are going to need to be some bridging fuels, because it's not always windy, the sun isn't always shining, and energy is hard to store when it comes from renewables. That's something else that needs further investment. However, I think Germany did shoot itself in the foot by leaving nuclear so early, whereas on the other hand, a lot of people saying, well, they should build a nuclear power plant. I'm sorry, but that takes a very long time to get onto the grid. So that's not an easy option. There are no easy options. Sometimes you're living with the bad decisions of your predecessors.
Right. James, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for being with us on this broadcast and all your valued insights there. WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.